It's another transfer roundup video. How much fun are these? Well, I guess it depends if you like, transfer roundup videos. We're going to look at players that have been linked with United. Shall we start with Ashley Barnes? Largely because that's the first one I've written about. Striker Ashley Barnes has been linked with a move to Sheffield United, a kind of get us over the line type signing. Chris Wilder knows all about these. Your James Hansons, your Gary Medines. Some say they were vital in the final fixtures. Others think we'd have managed without them. What do you think? Ashley Barnes, I don't know if you know this, maybe you do. Just a little interesting wrinkle, not that essential. But he flirted with an international career for Austria. He was spotted by Austrian officials while on a pre-season tour with 𝗤𝗏𝗄 𝗏𝗏 back in July 2008. And as a result, he was called up to their under-20 team to face Switzerland on the 19th of August 2008. The match was part of a four-nation friendly tournament featuring Austria, of course, Germany, Italy, and Switzerland. And Barnes did actually get brought on as a substitute, so he did actually represent them at youth level, but, never at full senior level. I don't know why. Now, would this actually be a good transfer? That's what we need to talk about with this one. That's much more important if it were to happen. And I don't know if it will, because as a goal scorer, Barnes perhaps isn't what you'd be looking for. He has scored 125 goals in 559 games at time of recording. That's across his career, and that's a goal every 4.5 games, which is a bit, it's not terrible. Andrew McMath writes on 𝐻EUnitedWay.co.uk. Check it out. Perhaps his most impressive goal-scoring stat is his identical goal tally in both the Premier League and the Championship, with 42 goals in 200 Premier League games and 228 Championship games, respectively. Barnes' best season in the Premier League was in the 2018-19 season, saw him score 12 goals in 37 matches, end quote. Barnes will be 36 next year. Last season, with his current club, fellow Championship side 𝗦𝗽̇cie, Barnes scored 6 goals and made 5 assists in 36 Championship games, but since then, he has had some injuries. He's been injured with a calf issue for a little while, one which needed an operation after the Canaries lost to Leeds in last season's playoff semi-final, so didn't get them over the line. In October, Barnes was back in a protective boot and was dealing with a pre-existing Achilles issue. He has had a few injuries over his career. He's had a long career, so you'd expect that. But how would Barnes, if he could stay fit into a Blades lineup that currently has 𝗤𝗏𝗏 in a similar role, and some would argue more needs a player alongside him that he can win those flick-ons for? Barnes is the same type, as in he's not exactly the same as 𝗤𝗏𝗏, but he's not going to be the runner alongside Moore when Moore wins those flick-ons if you were to play two up top, which I know the way we're playing this season, it would more be that perhaps Barnes is a backup too. Or, does Barnes play with younger players to help them in a kind of mentoring capacity? Louis Marsh, Ryan O'Neill, on and off the pitch. But is he more likely a backup to Moore, a like-for-like competition for places kind of signing as injuries and suspensions, undoubtedly in a long Championship season, mount up? The question is he necessary? Wilder's judgment, you could argue, should be trusted. But what do you make of this one? Let me know in the comments. James 𝗲𝗍 is where we go to next, named after a cheese. Southampton's James 𝗲𝗍 is 5'10". He's 27. He's just had his birthday, actually, 11th of December. He's from Wakefield, beginning his youth career at Ossett Town. I bought my first car from Ossett Motors. Anyway, 𝗲𝗍 began his career with Barnsley and made his professional debut on the 3rd of May 2014 in a 3-2 home defeat to Queen's Park Rangers, becoming the club's second youngest debutant after someone who was younger. He's a right back, he's right-footed, but he can operate elsewhere if needed. But the majority of his career has been at right back. 186 appearances at right back, 47 times he's played as a right midfielder or a right wing back. He can play left back, he can play centre back. He's played there 19 times, and he's even played in midfield, defensive midfield, but just the once. Here's a career breakdown. It's been Barnsley 2014 to 2017, then Villa, a loan spell with Ipswich Town, a loan initially in 2019 with Luton Town, where he did very well. So well, in fact, they signed him up, and then he joined Southampton in 2023. In terms of injuries, he did have a fairly serious knee injury back in the 2020-21 season, so we hope that is behind him. Right, let's look at Ricky Jade Jones. Ricky Jade is 22. He's really fast, so you've got to say his name like that. And he turned 22 in November. He can play as a striker or a left winger, which means we're in Tyrese Campbell territory. He's right-footed, so we're talking about a player that can cut inside, which Wilder likes. We've got that on both flanks. Contracted to Peterborough. We have a dedicated video on Ricky Jade Jones on this channel as he was linked with United in the off-season. And Jones comes from the Peterborough United Youth Academy. He made his first team debut when he was just 16, and that was against Arsenal under-21s in the EFL Trophy. That was back in October of 2019. He then signed his first professional contract when he was 17. This season, 21 appearances, 10 goals for the Posh. Not bad. He's a pace man. He's got wheels for feet, but sometimes those feet move too fast for his brain, seemingly, with some of the misses I've seen from him online. He's 6 foot, but not renowned for his aerial ability, and in total for Peterborough, he's made 167 appearances, 35 goals, but that, of course, with the caveat of at time of recording. In the 23-24 season, it was 39 starts, 16 times he was involved as a sub, and 13 goals, 5 assists in all competitions. In fact, Posh chairman Darragh McAnthony told his Hard Truth podcast, we have the data which says Ricky is the best presser in League One. Of course, he should have 20 goals by now, and the fans have a right to moan, but some of it has been over the top. There you go. That just sort of implies that not all the fans absolutely adore Ricky. He was apparently once tracked by Manchester United, Newcastle, and Liverpool. Posh fan, Matt Weston, good friend of mine, said, he's the quickest player you'll ever have. Absolute lightning. His end product needs much work, but his effect on the game is undoubted. He's so quick, teams have to think twice about playing high and in dropping off to mitigate the threat. Creates space for the midfield in the number 10 positions. In short, he creates absolute chaos. Don't expect a completely rounded striker. His finishing needs a lot of work. So we know he's raw, he's lightning fast, he's unpredictable, maybe even for himself, probably therefore a frustrating player. This sounds like a winger to me, but exciting, hardworking, that's all good. And if he does work hard, I think Blades fans will take to him. So it's an interesting one, and one, as I say, we do have a video on already on this channel. Ben Brereton Diaz. Do we save the best till last? We already know all about Ben Brereton Diaz. Russell Martin leaving Southampton. Will that play a factor? Because that's where Ben currently is. He's another that can play out wide or down the middle, but only 10 appearances for the Saints this season. It's not been the move he would have hoped for, and perhaps Bramall Lane is just the perfect fit. As we know, he can do it in the Premier League should we get promoted. Ben is 6'1". We know all about his strengths and his strength. Scored 6 in 16 for us last season, and he was popular amongst every Blade I spoke to. He has had injury issues in the past, one big one with his ankle issue following an ankle ligament tear a couple of years ago. There were some question marks over his knee. Those sorts of things can be notoriously difficult and hard to overcome. But he has versatility. We know he can play as a centre forward. We know he can play as a winger, left or right. He's played on the left 76 times in his career. 43 times he's played on the right. He's an attacking midfield option as well, although admittedly he's only done that a few times. But he's a goal threat as well. Let's not forget his championship goal stats with Blackburn. 47 goals in 177 appearances. With Forest, he got 9 in 57. But it was that 21-22 season he bagged 22 goals in 37 games for Blackburn. That's incredible numbers. He wouldn't be cheap. So maybe you're thinking a loan option again, and then maybe a permanent deal, perhaps in the summer. It remains to be seen. But I think there's some excitement around this one. Certainly I'm a big fan of Ben Brereton Diaz. Let me know what you think about all the players that we've run through on this transfer roundup.